Hi, my name is Cynthia Martinez, and this is my SWOT analysis for Jefferson Elementary for Education 590. And the reason why I chose this school is because that is where I currently work. A little bit of background on the school. Jefferson Elementary is one of the oldest schools in the Bakersfield City School District, first providing educational services in 1917. It is named after a historical figure and third president of the United States, Thomas Jefferson. For 100 years, Jefferson Elementary School goal has been to provide each student the attention and quality instruction they need to be successful at every phase of life. Some general information on the school. Jefferson Elementary, like mentioned, is part of the Bakersfield City School District. Currently, the principal is Miss Rivera. The school consists of TK to 5th grade elementary students, and the current enrollment is 535. For student demographics, it is broken down into Hispanic and Latino, consisting of 83.9% of the population, African American 7.7, white 5.4, two or more races 1.5, Asian 0.6%, American Indian 0.4, Filipino 0.4, and Pacific Islander 0.2%. For the socioeconomically disadvantaged, Jefferson has a 98.7%. For English language learners, we have 40.2%. For the homeless, it is at 2.6%, and currently Jefferson does not have any foster youth. One of the strengths is part of the academic achievements. So for ELA in 2017-2018, the percent of students that met or exceeded the goal was 98.58%. And in 2018-2019, that percentage went up to 32.82%. And then for the mathematics, even though you could see that it did decline slightly, it still maintained. It wasn't such a big drastic change of a drop. So for mathematics, it was 22.08% in the 17-18 school year, and it did drop slightly to 21.21% in the 18-19 school year. Again, it's not a significant drop, but two, I wanted to keep both the ELA and math scores together on one slide just to make it easier to follow. Continue on with the strengths is that Jefferson won the award for the National 2019 Magna Award, which honors districts across the country for programs that break down barriers for underserved students. The next one is that there is a one-to-one technology for Chromebooks for all students. There's also a one-to-one availability of textbooks. When it comes to suspension rate, we had 0 suspensions and expulsions, and this is based on the 2019-2020 school year. And the data collected was between July through February, which is a partial school year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Jefferson also has a student leadership, which consists of the student council. They also have PBIS, which incorporates the Jefferson Pledge, Caught Being Good tickets, and Jefferson Bucks, which students can use for little goodies with their Jefferson Bucks, or they are put into an opportunity raffle for the Caught Being Goods to just get little treats. Also, there is a social and emotional learning curriculum, which is the toolbox. And also there is a special education teacher. So there's two. There's one that has the students that are with her all day. And then we do also have an in-house special education teacher that pre-COVID would push in with our students that had IEPs to assist them. And then now post-COVID, the students are able to go to her classroom and receive the necessary assistance. Okay, now we go on to the weaknesses. So Jefferson does have a lower academic performance compared to the district. So as you can see by the table, for the ELA standards, Jefferson was at 32.82% of students that met or exceeded the goal. and the district was at 35.91%. And then for math, Jefferson was at 21.21% that met or exceeded, and the district was at 22.28%. Moving on to the staff. So pre-COVID or pre-pandemic, there wasn't enough classroom aides to assist teachers. Post-pandemic, there isn't enough yard aides. That's the only universal term I can think of. There isn't enough people out there watching the kids during recess, or even in the cafeteria. Also, there are not enough fluently bilingual staff in the front office. So we do have one bilingual staff, but if she's busy or is out, there isn't anyone in the office that is bilingual. So they're always having to pull other staff members to be able to assist parents in the office. And also, we do not have an on-site counselor or psychologist. There is a psychologist or a few psychologists in the district, but they kind of have, instead of just being, one-to-one with the psychology or psychologist or counselor, there is one that services a few schools. Also, with attendance, our goal was to have 96.5% of perfect attendance, and we were at 93.5 school-wide. Also, we lack funding for classroom libraries to be updated. Some of the books are kind of, not weathered, but worn from student use. And then the last is that we do have a low parent involvement. For the opportunities, there is the Behavioral Intervention Services and Supports, which is our BIS, and she helps in identifying students at risk for behavioral problems and providing teachers and schools with practices and interventions necessary to promote positive behavior. We also have school communication through Parent Square, Zoom, Google Classroom. Some of us even have Google Voice that parents are able to contact us through either calling or texting. And this is aside from the traditional calling the school site or email. Also, we have the family and community engagement from the school, which is, there to help, kind of continue with parent engagement to, have parents be involved a little bit more. District resources during the school year. There's the after school program, currently the independent study, and then we do have a health and wellness clinic that is accessible to our students. And district resources during the pandemic were the meal plans and the Chromebooks that were given to the students. Obviously, the meals are also given to students during the regular school year, but also it was something that was offered during COVID, along with hotspots for those that needed it, that did not have internet connection. Next is the threats. So one of the threats is the COVID-19 pandemic, which brings up health concerns, distance learning issues sometimes, technology issues, and access to internet issues. Also, societal concerns include hardships and unemployment due to COVID-19. Communication, there is a delayed communication from the district to the school sites. So a lot of times parents will call the district directly with questions. They will be, they'll be assisted and then referred back to the school site for certain services or what have you. They contact the school and then the school is not aware of what's going on district level because it hasn't trickled down to the school site, to the office staff. And so that can sometimes create a little bit of, that's miscommunication, a little bit of frustration, because parents feel like, the school district and the school sites are not on the same page. And the last thing is student well-being, with some of them having depression and anxiety. So these things were present pre-pandemic, but at a lower, level of lower percentage with students. And post-pandemic, with them witnessing parents losing jobs, just different things that are going on at home, there has been an increase in depression and anxiety among students. Now I'm going to go into some of my recommendations. Okay, so now for the recommendations. So There was a few recommendations that I am suggesting. So the first being phone calls and home visits to support students with attendance or other social emotional needs. Yes, phone calls home from the school, from the teachers are made. Some home visits are made as well. But I think if we were to increase the home visits maybe a little bit more to be able to support students with attendance, a lot of times, these students are being taken care of by older siblings because parents work and the school is sometimes not made aware. And so that causes a lot of absenteeism because the older sibling kind of just like, okay, whatever, get up, don't get up. And so maybe just making a few more home visits to be to ensure that students have what they need. The next thing is to have an intervention in the form of a teacher tutor to support tier 2 students needs, or to have that way they're able to access them, or also maybe to have a lunch tutoring club designed to help students address previous test concerns. So a lot of times tutoring is only offered after school, and sometimes the students for one reason or another are not able to access these services. But if there was some way to provide this during school hours, during recess or during lunch, and possibly assist students with this issue, it would help the students academically. The next thing is to have some sort of structured writing. So one of those programs could be like the writing from the beginning to assist in developing better writers. That is one thing that students kind of struggle with, is their writing aside from the reading. So to have some sort of a structured program could possibly assist students. And then the last recommendation is consistency in district paid programs utilized to assist in academic development. And what that means is that sometimes the district will pay for a program for students to use, and we might have access to it for a year or two, and then the following year, 2 years later, 3 years later, the district does away with that program and then pays for a different program. And so the staff is having to readjust, relearn this new program, and then, consequently have to teach these students how to use the new program. And finally, we have the references page. So my references came from the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress, the California School Dashboard for Jefferson Elementary, the School Accountability Report Card for Jefferson Elementary, and the reported data was used from the 2019-2020 school year, published in the 2021 school year, and also personal communication with B. Ponce from Jefferson Elementary and J. Howard, also from Jefferson Elementary. Thank you.